profit. So we bought it from him, fixed it up, and sold it. And I thought that was the car industry, right?
Yeah, it is easier.
Yeah. I said,
your first and your last.
This is the Independent Dealer Podcast. Education by dealers for dealers. Now, here are your hosts, Luke Godwin and Jeff Watson.
Hello and welcome to the Independent Dealer Podcast, brought to you by Buckeye Dealership Consulting. Luke, this is a really good episode. I've been excited for this one.
Yeah, I've been trying to get Eric on for a while, and I've known Eric for several years now, and great story and a good car mind, and I think we got a lot to talk about.
Yeah. Eric, hey, thank you. Thank you for being here. Introduce yourself to the listeners, just a little bit, by yourself, what you're up to.
Yeah, my name is Eric Ryan. Been in the industry since 2012. And what I've been up to is just still in the industry, operating, having a good time, enjoying the relationships that I have, operating Strategic Dealer Services as CEO and owner. And that's where I'm at. Cool.
I like it. And I want to get to that. We're going to talk about strategic in a second, but let's rewind. When you say 2012, why, how, what, I'm always so curious as to how dealers either fall into this industry or born into it or go out and find it because they see the opportunities. What was it that got you in? And maybe give us that story.
Yeah, it actually goes back to 2007. So me and my brother had just finished summer sales. We sold a whole bunch of pest control door to door and made a lot of money. And we took that seed money. He had just finished getting his certification in automotive body repair. So I said, well, I'll do the business side. You do the body shop side. Well, with a two-man operation, you end up doing all of it, right?
Yeah.
So I learned how to paint. I learned how to do body work. I learned how to operate that business. I learned how to market it. And one day, a guy came in with a Lexus IS 300 and I don't have any insurance. Will you just buy it from me? And that was our first 10-pounder. So a $10,000 gross profit. So we bought it from him, fixed it up, and sold it. And I thought that was the car industry, right?
Yeah, it is easier.
Yeah. I said,
your first and your last.
Yeah, those are I found out later, those come once every 8 years.
Yeah.
So I convinced my buddy Matthew Burton to start a car dealership with me. So in 2010 we formed a car dealership. We operated out of my body shop. I couldn't quite get the traction out of the body shop that we wanted. We moved over to Irving Boulevard Beltline Road in Irving, Texas, and we started selling just $500 cars at auction. We'd sell them cash for $2,000 or $1,500. It was fantastic. So by the time 2012 rolled around, we realized, there's people that want this paper that I'm writing. I had started doing a little bit buy here, pay here. I didn't really know what it was. And so we started getting companies calling on us to send us your point of sale, send us this and everything else. And we would look at it. We said, well, if we just hold it, right? If we just hold it, we'll make more money. And that's true. The problem is you got to have a lot of money to hold it.
Yeah.
And so we began with the old thing is, what's your most important piece to growth? And it's capital, right? Unless you come into the industry with $10 million, which I don't think any of us started with that, you're going to have capital issues fairly quickly. So we started doing the buy here, pay here. We didn't really know what we were doing. We got into a 20 group with David Brotherton in 2014, which was game changing for us. Followed everything that he asked us to do. Our 20 group members never quite understood if we'd make it to the next meeting. I'm sure all of us can relate to that.
Oh yeah. Oh,
we've had members like that. Yep.
And we're far right of the book. And then, after some years, we kind of be middle, and then we kind of moved to the left side of the book. We're really excited about that. We have some really good operators in that 20 group that I was in. So it was very hard to be number one in anything in that group, right? But definitely the mentorship, the camaraderie was there. And that's how I got into buy here, pay here. We got our first, our first bank loan, niche bank loan through Primalend. I want to say that was 2013. So
Wow.
before I went to the 20 group. We switched banks. I don't know how many times. I think we went to Westlake, Spartan, back to Primalend. Bank graduated with, I think we had 3 or 4 different syndicates over the years. 2019, or I guess I should say end of 2018 is really when kind of the growth took off. So
yeah, let me stop you there and let's talk about that. So from 2012 to 2018, 19, you're kind of learning your chops, let's say. Like, getting bounced between banks is one of the most stressful, painful situations in the world. I've been there before. And how did you guys, I mean, it just seems like you'd be spending all your time gathering financials and like trying to meet with banks and trying to get people. How was that process? And then what made you think like, well, this seems tolerable. Let me really take a bite at this apple. Let me really hit growth mode here. Like, how did you wrap your brain around that, as far as just from the sheer pain that it is to deal with those types of situations?
yeah, I think all of us as owners of a dealership that are in this industry and buy here, pay here, right, subprime, we all have to somehow figure out how to talk to banks really well. And it's a skill. Let's be honest about that.
Yep.
You have to know how to present. You need to talk the bank language. You need to ask your banker, what does your credit committee want to hear? We produced professional decks to share. It was very difficult. I mean, we had one bank that would tell us, hey, when you get to 3 million in AR, we're going to finance you. So I'd go back to them the next year. Hey, I'm at 3 million. Are you willing to take a look at it? No, now our level's 5.
Yeah.
Right. And then finally we got to like $20 million. I said, are you ready to finance us? And they're like, no,
You're too big now.
You're growing too fast. You kept putting the carrot out there.
Yeah.
Right? But
what does that look like? I mean, were you moving for better rates or more leverage or a bigger line? Why did you go through all those banks?
that was a long time ago. I think when we went to, I mean, you have these reps calling you all the time, right? So when we switched to Spartan, I think it was a rate thing between Primalend and Spartan. When we switched to Westlake, we had a much better program that I think helped us kind of get our growth that we needed. But Westlake didn't do the lines of credit very long, right? So they were ready to move on.
Yeah.
We went back to Primalend. Primalend actually assumed that note that Westlake had written, which was very outside their lending box, right? But that was important. They had a strong belief that we could get bank graduated very quickly, and we did. I think in the first 12 months after going back to Primalend, we bank graduated. So there was, looking back at it, like you can look in hindsight and say, hey, this was good. We switched, we got bank graduated. But honestly, every time you switch a bank, I mean, there's an origination fee that you're paying.
Yeah.
It might be, with a small operation, it might be half your profit that year, that origination fee.
And you're switching all your processes, right? I mean, now they have all new auditing, you have, new bank accounts because they want sweep accounts. And so you're rerouting all your payment processors, and it just seems like a logistical nightmare. What from the outside looking in and seeing you guys back then, kind of when you started to hit that real like growth trajectory mode, it seems like you guys were built. It seems like you were built as a business. You weren't built as like a guy selling cars, and I think a lot of us dealers, like literally, I'm a guy selling cars, right? Like I've got 12 employees, but we're just dudes selling cars here. Like I don't have like a corporate structure, a corporate entity. I don't have like, I'm not looking to get to 10 stores, but I think maybe you can tell me if I was right or wrong, but looking at you guys, you were like, hey, we're going to own like Texas soon. Like we plan to have 10, 20 locations, or we have this growth plan that we're not just going to be a mom and pop operation. And you guys are just going to be, whether I want to show up to work or not is whether or not this dealership's going to die. You guys seem like you had a corporate structure. Did that come, or was that a plan?
So the actual full corporate structure with like holding company and stuff came in 2021.
Okay.
But you know, my business partner, and I should say that the dealership that we formed was called Adonis Auto Group. I think people kind of recognize that who've been in the industry. Matthew Burton came from Bain and Company, worked Fortune 500 in Fortune 500 consulting, knew quite a bit about how to set up companies and how to organize them and keep employees motivated. I learned a lot from him. And he helped put that organization and that professionalism into the business, right? He, where we kind of looked at things, and this is kind of like where mine and his personalities really synced, right? We would say, hey, last month we sold 30 cars. Now how do we do 40? What do we need to do 50, right? Like, what's our real impediment here? Is it the shop? Is it the collections? Is it the performance of the notes? Is it, what is it, right? And 9 times out of 10, when you're underwriting well and think you're collecting well in a good environment, which I feel like it was a good environment between 2014 and 2019 to collect on these notes, right? I think all of us benefited there. It wasn't boom years like it was after COVID, but there was a lot of consistency that we put into it. But then it went down to, I would have friends call me and say, hey, we're still at, up until end of 2018, we still have one dealership. That's it. But friends would call me and say, hey, are you going out of business? I only saw 2 cars on your lot. Like, no, we are producing 30 cars out of the shop every single week. And as soon as they hit the lot, they're sold. There's a backlog, right? But we had built a marketing machine that was, second to none, in my opinion. I think we were one of the first adopters when it came to Facebook marketing. And it was back in the day where you could select any information that you wanted. I mean, it was like highcraft, right?
Right.
So we could hyper target the customers that we really wanted, and it was very successful for us.
What did you see? And you talked about bottlenecks. What continued to lead? What was the major bottleneck that y'all continue to have during that time during growth?
It was always shop, right? Like once we had the bank line set up with enough either accordion to grow or available line, right? It was always the shop.
It's always shop or cash, right?
Yeah.
When you look at buy here, pay here. Okay.
Because you can make bad underwriting decisions all day long, right? Capital to keep doing that. Can you produce enough cars to do that?
Yeah. That's funny.
Hey guys, real quick to interrupt. I need to make sure you guys know about Blytzpay and your payment credit card processing for your buy here, pay here. I don't know who Eric used. We didn't really talk to him about it, but when you're processing as many accounts as he got to in his portfolio, which you guys will hear about, that's a lot of credit card processing, man. I bet every single company, especially Blytzpay, is going to want that business.
Yeah, could you imagine trying to process 9,000 credit cards a month, Jeff, and having somebody on the phone keying that stuff in? Blytzpay would make it so easy for them. They would have their own little thing, log in, boom, it's done. So use Blytzpay if you're not. Don't pay for all those credit card fees. Let the customer help you with that. So y'all only had one location up to 2018?
Yeah, we had one sales location. I had a 3-bay shop in the back of that. And then in 2018, I had another 6-bay shop that was off-site. We did not have any in-house body work capability.
And you said, okay, we're going to open the second lot. Was that once you had capacity, or did you think you maxed out the single location?
Yeah, we were running 150 to 160 sales out of that one lot a month.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so we just thought that's what you're supposed to do, right? And it was extremely efficient. We made good money. But there's a limit to as much money as you can make off of that amount of sales. So we always wanted more. Well, Primeland came to us at the end of 2018 and said, hey, we just need you to take over this dealership that's up in Kansas. And we signed up for it. So that's how we got our second lot. So we had a shop in Overland Park, and then I think the dealership was off of State, I want to say, up there in Kansas City, Kansas. And we, we J-curved that portfolio out from the mess that it was in, and we bank graduated. It took us a couple years to do it, but it was a good opportunity to show our expertise of operational efficiency, not only to PrimeLend, but then they shared that with other banking relationships.
And how that's an interesting concept of, you were in the Dallas area. If opening another dealership in the Dallas area seems logical. Ideal, right? Opening or taking over a location in Kansas, at least 2 states away, seems illogical. How do you do that in a different state? New laws, a long way away, and you don't know anybody.
So we're very, it was, I would say it was the first time we did this, I was extremely intimidated, right? But you'd stand there in front of the employees and you have to show a level of leadership that they can trust you, and a level of confidence that they know that you can execute on what you're saying you can execute on. We were very organized when it came to our processes. So we knew exactly what the formula was, right? This is what we want out of the shop. This is how much per repair RO we're willing to approve. This is how we want it set up. This is where we need to be at. Here's how we're going to do the marketing. When we walked into Kansas and we told them that we'd be giving them 100 fully filled out applications per week per sales rep, they laughed. After 3 months, they thanked us.
Wow.
Because they were so busy, and you get to a point where you have to build this big BDC department, right? So,
did you handle all that in Texas for the other location? Or no?
Yeah, I had that centralized in Texas. Yes.
Okay.
So we had
what were you spending a month on marketing? Just an idea during that time. To get those type
during
of
that time, not much. It was really inexpensive to market back in 2018, 2019.
So we're talking.
I would say it was probably $50 to $60 per fully filled out application. We got to the point when we had all 5 dealerships, we were getting 2,000 fully filled out applications on a monthly basis.
Wow.
And so
you were selling.
That's not just leads, right? That's full application.
Yeah. Those are people that are willing to buy 9 times out of 10. And what are you closing 50% of those or 40%?
No, it was much less because we were selling, 2,000 applications. We're selling about 300 to 350 cars a month.
Okay. So 15 to 20% on a given month.
Yeah.
That's
kind of our target was that, 20% of the applications are going to get approved and delivered, right?
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. I should have, approval to, makes sense.
Fill in that little gap there, Ryan. You just said the word 5 dealerships. And I was like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
I thought we were talking about 2, Texas
Yeah,
and Kansas. What was that next, what was that next jump, surge?
So we like to do a lot of data research, right?
Mm-hmm.
We look at where our competitors, we could get some information on our competitors, the ones we wanted to be like.
Mm-hmm.
We would do a market study. So we started with Dallas. We said, let's do a market study. We put it on a heat map. We noticed that there are certain competitors that were really strong in Fort Worth and really strong on the east side of Dallas. In fact, we called it the dome of do not enter or whatever. Our heat map didn't have anything on the east side of Dallas. And so we said, well, that's the next place we need to go because our competitors are there. But we can't get there. It was too big of a jump to come all the way to Arlington, right? We were getting a lot of Fort Worth, but we didn't, we could probably do more. So we went and found a dealership. We had been searching for dealerships for a while. We went and found a dealership. We leased it back. I want to say it was 2020. We got a fantastic deal during COVID. I mean, it was.
Bet you did.
It was that summer after, that whole mess. And we we built that. It had a 10-bay shop that we put into it. Had plenty of room. I think it could hold like 150 cars for sale. Of course, we never filled it up. The back of it was always full of cars that needed to be repaired, right?
Yeah, for sure.
At the same time, we were building what we call our headquarters. So in 2020, we leased I guess it was end of 2019, we leased to try to resolve this issue of reconditioning. We leased a facility that I think, Luke, you toured at one point.
Yeah, I've been there.
Had 45 mechanical lifts in it, full service body shop. We could do anything with a car.
It was huge.
You built it, or it was there and you leased it?
It was like a data center, a 2-level data center. We came in with saws and we cut the middle out of it and opened it up so we could put lifts.
What?
It's nuts.
That's wild.
And so anything underneath the kind of the mezzanine area, we would do like, tire changing or state inspection or detail. It had inside detail bay that the detailers loved. Then we had some body shop operations and then the actual body shop to the side. But yeah.
And you had all your corporate offices there too, right?
We had our corporate offices upstairs,
collections,
service center downstairs, collections. That's correct. Yep. Accounting, everything.
Yeah. I mean, it made total sense for the size of your operation. It was, it made total sense to me. And I'm gonna attribute this quote to you, Eric, and it may not be, but we were sitting at Buckeye 20 group one time, and I think I remember you saying this, and if you didn't say this, then don't. But you said, at this point, we're not in the car business, we're in the insurance business. And I think you were talking about CPI. Was that you that said that?
Probably. I love that. I love CPI. If there's one thing that I could change is how do I just do CP, right?
Yeah,
like I don't want anything else. I just want the CP. That's it. I think it was 2018 we actually adopted it. But if you execute the management of CP correctly, for every dollar of premium you bring in, you should be netting 45 cents of that. After claims, after administration, everything. You'll have every once in a while a month that peaks or your claims or whatever, but on a rolling 12-month basis, you're going to be netting 45 cents. There are some tricks to that, right? That we learned over time, but that is your most profitable product. If you're not doing CP, then you're doing it wrong.
Well, that was just an advertisement for Buckeye Dealership Consulting. So, Jeff, we don't have to dive back into that, but I agree. It's a wonderful product, and I didn't use it early enough in my career, and I should have listened to Jason a lot sooner. How big did y'all get? How many notes did you have out at one time? And then we'll kind of talk about the peak, and then we'll talk about what happened.
Yeah. So we opened that dealership in Dallas, then we opened a dealership in Fort Worth, and at the same time we opened a dealership in Houston. And this is 2020, 2021, all three of those opened.
Wow.
We had the cookie cutter down operationally. 2021, beginning of 2022, we started building another, we called it Megatron. It was even bigger than HQ down in Houston. The thing was enormous. And it was more efficient than the other one. The other one would look like kind of like a horseshoe where it wasn't as efficient. This was drive in one side, drive out the other. There was, it was laid out. Like I took everything I learned out of that HQ operation and I made it super organized on kind of like a production facility, right? Like you come in one door, it goes in for inspection, it goes out. Your body shop is at the end. You turn the corner and you come back to like inspection and detailing and everything else, and then you're out the door, right? That was a really efficient shop. We built that machine by mid 2022. I want to say, I think our peak in receivables was $130 million and over 9,000 accounts.
Wow.
Whoa.
And it was a beast of an operation.
How many people does it take to run an operation like that?
We had 350 employees.
Holy
Wow.
jeez.
Wow.
And I would even go back because we were in such build mode. You could probably do that same operation with probably 50 to 70 less employees.
Mm.
So high twos, low threes, you could have 9,000 accounts.
Yeah. Yeah, more or less. Now, some of them, remember, we didn't originate all of these, right? So some of them, well, in Kansas, we purchased a portfolio up there, and I can't remember the amount, but I think it was around 20 million and maybe 1,100 accounts or something like that. That was back in end of 2018. In 2021, we purchased the dealership down in Houston. I want to say it was about 9 million in receivables and, whatever, 400 or 500 accounts. So we didn't originate all of that, but we did ramp the origination machine, right?
Is that key to getting that large, buying other operations that are working? Because we had a discussion about this last week.
It definitely moves the time frame up, right?
Right.
Because you think you start a dealership without anyone in it. Well, just the hiring process takes a long time. It might take you a year to get the right manager in there, right? Then you got to go earn your customers' confidence. But when you buy into a dealership that's already operating, they know that the dealership's there. You can decide to keep the name or change the name if you want, right? It doesn't really matter if you're throwing it all to the same RFC, but that's kind of like a marketing thing. If you think you have a good brand you're buying, if you think you need to change the brand to change the name, right?
Were these ones that were handed to you by your lending relationships, or did you go out and find these and say, we want to strategically grow here? Let's not just start from zero. Let's find somebody, let's buy them, let's get a good deal.
We were marketing to purchase operations. So this one that we bought in Houston was one of many that we looked at. And we had a little bit of marketing on LinkedIn that would kind of target dealers that were
wow. Holy geez, man. You guys were marketing machines, man, on the customer side and the acquisition side.
And that marketing, we kind of glanced over it was, Matthew came from Bain, so he was more the process procedure type guy. Did you have a marketing degree, or did y'all hire someone to teach y'all this? What?
I went to school for accounting and I hate it, but I'm glad I went to it. But no, a lot of the stuff I've learned has been on the job, right? Specific to the industry. Josh Austin, who was our CFO, had a huge background in M&A. And he was the one that was executing on finding these deals, looking at the business operation, building it to where, negotiating with that dealer. And me and Matthew had a part in it too, but largely he was the point man on these M&A deals. Like if we went to do a site visit, he was there, That's something that he loved to do.
Hey, so we are going to end this episode here, guys. Hate to leave you hanging, but this has been such a great conversation with Eric, and there's so much more that we wanted to cover that this episode just went long. It went really long because, man, I was just like eyes wide open the whole time. What a crazy, crazy ride Eric has been on.
Yeah, both Adonis, we didn't really tell everybody what Adonis was, but I'm sure enough people in the industry know. And we've heard about how we built it. Next week, we'll kind of learn how it goes down. So stick around and we'll see you then.
Thank you for listening. Please leave us a review. We'll catch you in the next episode.